Look at that. Doesn't get any better. This week, I'm heading to British Columbia and Yoho and Kootenay National Parks with Dave Higgins and Stuart Mitchell to hike 5 days on Canada's spectacular Rockwall Trail from the Trans-Canada Highway west of Field, south to the Flow Lake Trailhead on the Banff-Windermere Highway. This is a pretty amazing view. That's down to the Otter Tail. And these are the hoodoos. Look at the height of these things over the years, what they've become. We were just talking about all the trail work that the trail crews have done in the past year or whatever. I think there was a lot of blowdown from the past year or two. This is Float Creek, so I think we're in about 6 kilometers, just over 6 kilometers. So we have a little over 8 kilometers to go to camp. Nice spot for a break. So we've arrived at MacArthur Creek campsite, and there's a warden's cabin down the way. Kitchen facilities are over there through the trees. Campsite is over here. Well, this is going to become home for the night. Stuart's pitching a tent over there, and Dave is just over there. And we're going to call this the Durston Village. Apparently all three of us have Durston tents. Stuart and I were just walking back to the creek to get some water. We're walking along this trail that we just walked about half an hour ago, and lo and behold, look at that. And that is fresh. Well, looks like a new outhouse, so thanks for building that for us, guys. There's the old one. And up ahead is the warden cabin, and let's go check it out. From what I remember from 1983 is one hell of a nice view of the Good Sur Mountains. Interesting to see that pile of wolf scat back on the trail, so we're not alone out here. So a horse corral over there, and the cabin and shed there. And yet, like my buddy Stuart Howe says, the wardens always get the best views. And this is where we're walking tomorrow morning, heading up that way, and Good Sur Pass way up there. And this is Good Sur Mountain with the snow, Yoho National Park's tallest mountain. You can actually see tire tracks in the ground here right at the cabin, so I don't imagine horses are used much anymore. And our campsite is off in the trees over there, not far away, 200 or 300 meters. Well, we're going to do a quick wrap. The days are so short here. Darkness comes about 7:15. It was a pretty easy walk in, nice trail. Essentially an old fire road. We had about 14 kilometers in. We had dinner over at the picnic table by the warden's cabin. Nice view of Mount Good Sur and the Otter Tail River. And I think it's going to be kind of a cool night, but hopefully we'll survive the night, and we'll talk to you in the morning. Well, good morning. It's day 2. It's Friday. You may have noticed that my voice isn't quite normal. I came down with COVID a couple weeks ago, so I'm still feeling the after effects of that. Basically a long-lasting cold. Anyway, today we are heading up over Good Sur Pass, and then we'll head down to the trail that comes in from the Paint Pots, and from there we'll walk into Helmet Falls Campground. So I think we've got about 13 kilometers or so today. Not a huge distance, but it's a long climb up over Good Sur Pass. This looks like an old avalanche from years ago. Here's our first good view of Mount Good Sur as we start huffing and puffing up the climb. Here's some old bear scat right on the trail. Pretty easy to tell with the berries and stuff in it. We're heading up a steep climb up this avalanche slope, and the good thing about these avalanches, at least they provide some pretty nice views. This is Good Sur Creek way down below us.
So here we are. We started down here today, and now we're up here on this little bench having a snack, and then we're heading to the left, which is southbound. And then we're going to get to the top, go along there, And then as we drop down, that's Helmet Falls Campground, which is 7.7 clicks from here.
You may have noticed that the floor of the meadow is covered in yellow, and those would be larch needles from the larch trees that are here. And these larch trees reproduce the needles every year and then turn their beautiful colors in the fall before falling off. Well, we've just finished lunch and it's not warming up any, so we're going to head down. Just to give you an idea of the size of this hole. So this looks like an old grizzly bear digging. Dave and I were just talking about this trail. So he hiked this trail 1979. I hiked this trail 1983. And we figure this trail really hasn't changed since then. So 40 plus years. And the trail is still in nice shape. Here's a shot of hippies on a stick, hanging on till the very end. So this is the trail junction. And this is the trail coming in from Highway 93 and the paint pots. And we've got 6, well that says 0.3, okay, I thought it was a bit farther. Anyway, just a few steps to the campground.
I think we can make it.
So we're here at Helmet Creek Campground. My tent is set up. Dave is over there. Stuart's right there. They have the 2-person version of the Durston tent. I just have the single person. So mine looks tiny. This has got to be the nicest dirt I've ever put tent stakes into. I'm a simple man. We had a pretty good day, not real warm, 5 degrees Celsius all day, cloudy all day. We had a stiff climb up over Good Sur Pass and had lunch up at the meadow there. And we've just finished dinner and we're going to have dessert and a hot drink here in the campground. And then we'll be crawling into the tents pretty soon. It gets dark in about 20 minutes from now. So I'll talk to you in the morning. Good morning, it's day 3, it's Saturday morning. She was a cold night last night. I think it was -5 Celsius, so high 20s Fahrenheit. Right now it's +1 or 33. Not real warm, but the sky cleared last night, and that's why it was cold. And now we've got some sun, so that'll feel good. Hopefully it'll stay sunny today. We have a climb this morning up over Limestone Peak, then down to the South Fork of Helmet Creek, and then up to the Rockwall Pass and down to Tumbling Creek. Not a huge distance today, I think 11 or 12 kilometers, but there's definitely some vertical. There's going to be some up and down today. This is what the first few minutes of walking is like, just out of the campsite. And that's the morning view of the falls. Unfortunately, mid-October, it's October 14th today, so the sun just is not high enough anymore to hit the falls in the morning. This is one of those spots where you realize it's worth it. That's why we're out here.
Yeah.
If I remember right, and I hiked this little loop 2 years ago in from Paint Pots and then out Tumbling Creek, I think this is the last good view of the falls. We're now up into the trees. Lots of larch needles on the trail, and we got a few larches here hanging on. And this is Good Sur Pass. That's what we came over yesterday afternoon. Here's a bit better view of Good Sur Pass, and that rock would have been near where we had lunch. So this is our first sunshine in 3 days. This is going to feel good. Check out the larch needles on the trail here. Pretty amazing. Check out the size of this larch. Hard to see on the camera, but huge. Well, here we go. Here's our first really good view of the amazing rock wall. Look at that. We're just taking a bit of a break and we got a little yard sale going on, trying to dry out everything from last night. Woke up with ice crystals on the tents this morning, so stuff was pretty wet. Well, the snack break is over. The tents are a little bit drier and a little bit lighter, so that's nice. So this next few minutes we're heading down to the Helmet Creek. This would be the South Fork, and maybe lunch there, or maybe we'll have some more lunch up at Rockwall Pass. You can see Rockwall Pass above the guys here. We're just stopping for a little bit of water. This is a little creek that comes down from the Washmawapta ice field. Okay, that's a boulder. Dave was just commenting that if there was a grizz, this is where you'd see it. We've seen a bunch of this stuff over the last half kilometer or so, so we're thinking a few wolves came through here. I guess this is going to be lunch for today, lunch spot, so we'll hang here for a few minutes until we get too cold, and then we'll continue up and over the pass and down to Tumbling Creek. Well, lunch is done. We're going to keep moving. It's not real warm. I think it's +5 here, and there's a breeze, so it's even colder. So that's looking way back. We came over yesterday afternoon, and then that area there with the trees is limestone shoulder, which we came up and over this morning. And right there, that little clearing, that's where we had a bit of a snack and a yard sale, drying out all the tents. So this view, this is probably one of my favorite views in all my years of hiking. It's just beautiful. And there's the patrol cabin in the middle of the picture there. It's been there a few years. There's a sharp peak in the distance, just to the left and above it, and that's Foster Peak. Unfortunately, you can't see it today. It reminds me of the Paramount Pictures mountains at the start of movies. Tumbling Glacier is the obvious Tumbling Glacier. So off to the west is Wolverine Pass, and with it you can see further into British Columbia, and on a good day the Purcells and the Bugaboos, which is a world famous mountaineering area. Well, we're starting to go down now to the Tumbling Creek campsite. We have about a 3-kilometer descent here, and just a even better view of Tumbling Glacier. This is probably the main reason I like hiking the Rockwall Trail from north to south, is you just get this great view of Tumbling Glacier.
Well, I'm pretty sure I took a picture from this spot back in 1979, so 44 years ago. And you could see the whole glacier at the time, which was quite a bit larger than what you can see now. And all of these small larches in the foreground were definitely not there. So there's been a lot of forest succession up on this slope. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see it after all these years.
What a view. This is a great view of Tumbling Creek. And you can see the trail that we're going to take tomorrow. This is the view of the rock wall from the eating area, kitchen area. And our tents are way up there in the trees. And this is one of the tables. We are the only ones here in the campground. And to be honest, I don't expect to see anybody on this trail. Well, we're going to do a wrap on day 3. Daylight is fading, and it was a pretty good day. Nice climb up over Limestone Summit, and then up over Rockwall Pass. I think the temp was 5 degrees all day today, so I think that's a recurring theme this weekend. Hopefully we'll get that great view of Flow Lake, maybe in sunshine tomorrow. That'd be nice. Talk to you in the morning. So good morning, day 4, Sunday morning. It started raining about midnight, and it seemed to rain for 3 or 4 hours. I thought it was actually snowing. I could hear stuff dropping by my tent off a tree. And woke up this morning and it's wet, but there's no snow down here. Probably up where we're going, but we'll see. Anyway, this morning, we have a climb up over Tumbling Pass, and then down to Numa Creek Campground, and then this afternoon up over Numa Pass, and then down to Flow Lake Campsite for the night. This is a junction with the trail coming in from Highway 93, 10.9 kilometers out, so about 6.5, 7 miles. We're heading to Tumbling Pass, 2.3 kilometers, so about 1.5 miles. Working our way up toward Tumbling Pass, huffing and puffing. Temperature's about 3 degrees Celsius, so about 35 Fahrenheit. But we are working up a sweat. So here's a great view of Tumbling Glacier. It's up there, trust me. And we're nearing the top of Tumbling Pass, and it is cool. Thankfully, not much breeze here right now. So we've made it to Tumbling Pass, and that wasn't too bad of a climb. We've come from right down there. We're obviously up at the tip now. We're going to head down shortly to a bit of a shelf, and then further down to Numa Creek campsite, and I think that'll probably be lunch down there. And then this afternoon a longer climb, probably about the same gradient, up to Numa Pass, and then down to that campsite right there. That's Flow Lake campsite. And then further down will be tomorrow to the Highway 93. Here's a beautiful view dropping down from Tumbling Pass. So we're going to drop down kind of into that open area, that meadow, and then from there drop steeper down to Numa Creek. Well, it looks like we're just about to start the big descent now down into Numa Creek. So once we get there, I think probably we'll have lunch, and then this afternoon up and over Numa Pass, further to the south. Well, we've come to the junction down here to the Numa Creek Trail, and the campsite is 0.4 kilometers. So we're going to head over there, and I think we'll have lunch. Well, we're just loading up on some food here. This is a long, tough climb coming up for us. So we got to put some fuel in the engine. That would have been a bad place to camp that night. I assume the tent bed was put in there after the tree fell down. Once in a while you get an obstacle, but for the most part this trail's in pretty good shape. Dave forgot his handsaw. Thanks to Parks Canada and Kootenay National Park for putting stuff like this in. Makes life a lot easier.
We've only got about 1 foot to go here, I think.
This is like the yellow brick road. All these larch needles. We're getting there. We're going to start switchbacking up there and go over through that notch.
Maybe from the pass. Delta Form, Lefroy, Glacier Peak, Hungaby.
The end is in sight. At least the end of the climb anyway. This is what it's all about. This is what makes it all worthwhile. So Flow Lake is way down there. We're going to get an even better view once we crest the end of the plateau below us. And down we go. Well, I thought it was time for a joke. Mahatma Gandhi, as many people know, walked barefoot most of the time, which produced an impressive set of calluses on his feet. He also ate very little, which made him rather frail, and with his odd diet, he suffered from bad breath. This made him a supercalifragilistic, hexed by halitosis, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. A supercalifragilistic, hexed by halitosis. So we've arrived at the campground and we're just checking out the map, where to set up. Well, that was a pretty good day. It was a long day, but turned out okay. 2 tough climbs, especially the second one in the afternoon over Numa Pass. So we're here camped at Flow Lake tonight, and it's getting late. We didn't get into camp till probably 6, and it's almost 7 o'clock now. We're gonna have dinner by headlamp, I think, and it's gonna be a cool night. It's right beside the lake, and I think it's +3 right now Celsius. I just want to talk about every hiker's nightmare, at least it is for me anyway. 2 weeks ago, in nearby Banff National Park, a terrible thing happened. There was a 62-year-old couple hiking, 7-day hike with their border collie dog, and every day the gentleman was messaging his uncle and her mom on his Garmin InReach satellite device. And at 5 o'clock that afternoon, he'd messaged in saying they were delayed, but everything was okay. And his uncle assumed that what they'd done is probably not been able to reach the site that they wanted to get to for camp, but that they found another campsite that they used and were probably getting ready to make dinner and get ready to bed down for the night. This was 2 weeks ago, so late September. Days are short. Darkness comes about 7:30. At 8:15, Garmin received a SOS message from that location and an additional text message stating, "Bear attack bad." Garmin contacted Parks Canada. Parks Canada was able to activate a team that was sent in about 10:30 from the staging site east of the park, probably near Yaha-Tinda Ranch. And at 1:30 in the morning, they reached the park boundary, the eastern park boundary. They'd gone in on ATVs, because it's basically an old fire road in that area. At 1:45, they saw a shiny object in the distance, and it turned out to be an approved food container, bear-proof, probably an ursack. 5 minutes later, they were attacked by a grizzly bear, and they shot and killed the bear. They then searched the area for any other bears and discovered the bodies of the couple and their dog outside of the tent. The tent had been flattened. Oh, and the people were reading their e-readers. So there would have been light in the tent from those e-readers, but I'm guessing that the bear attacked, flattened the tent, and then obviously all hell broke loose. There probably wouldn't have been much light because the e-readers probably would have been flattened to the ground. Really, it was just a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. These were experienced outdoor people. Apparently, they had hiked in that area numerous times. One can of bear spray had been deployed, the other one had not. And to think about what happened here, you know, if a bear is going to attack in the night when you're in your tent, to be honest, I'm not sure you have much of a chance. You know, everything's dark. The bear obviously has the advantage. You might be able to get off your bear spray, but who knows where. Just a terrible, terrible incident. My condolences to Doug and Jenny's family and friends. Well, good morning. Another long night in the tent and a cold night, but I slept okay. Heard a few noises through the night. I guess it was a bird, but I thought it might have been a porcupine, and I didn't want my boots eaten, so normally I keep my boots in the vestibule just outside the door. So I opened up the tent zipper and brought them inside, and then I just talked to Dave now, and he said he heard a thumping noise middle of the night and thought it was an animal. Actually called out to scare it away, so who knows what that was. Anyway, I think I'm going to pack up this morning first before breakfast and then head down to the food kitchen area, and then we're going to head down Flow Creek Valley out to Highway 93. That is our kitchen area for breakfast and for dinner last night. And this is Flow Lake. We're getting down into the switchbacks now, and from hiking this in 1983, I seem to recall there was something like 20 switchbacks in this next little section. This is the valley, the Flow Creek Valley, and we're looking east now out to Highway 93. And in 2003, a forest fire ripped through Kootenay National Park and went up into this valley as well, so burned a lot of this valley. Not real picturesque, but the views are still amazing. I forgot how steep this is. It's been a while. Thus the switchbacks. That is where we've come from. Flow Lake is over that. This is the head wall that we've come down. Incredibly steep. And yeah, I don't know, 20 switchbacks, whatever.
You know, you really get a good idea of how tall some of the trees are in this area when they're burned. It's not terribly obvious when they still have their needles, but boy, these guys are incredibly long and tall.
I mentioned previously that I hiked this trail in 1983, so this is bringing back a whole bunch of great memories. So I hiked it with my future wife and an uncle of mine. The plan was to hike it from Flow Lake parking lot up to the Trans-Canada Highway. Back in those days, we had to go get the permit from the Marble Canyon Warden Station on Highway 93. So we did that, and when we checked in, the wardens were telling us that a grizzly bear had been in this valley, the Flow Creek Valley, for 4 weeks, gorging on, I think, a very lush berry crop. And they advised that we should hike from the Trans-Canada Highway and then back to Flow Lake parking lot. And we thought, yeah, that's a good idea. They figured the bear would be gone in another week by the time we got to the Flow Creek Valley. So we started from the Trans-Canada Highway, and that entire week in July, we saw 6 people on the trail. So times have changed. We saw 2 guys at MacArthur Creek campsite, and I think it was the warden and a buddy of his. And then we saw 4 people at the Tumbling Creek campsite. And by then my wife had had enough, so she hiked out with them down the Tumbling Creek Trail to Highway 93. My uncle and I continued. We got to the Flow Lake campsite, and there was a warning sign stapled to a tree in the campsite, and it had been dated the day before. And the warden obviously had rode through on horseback, said there was a grizzly bear active in the area, use caution, blah, 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 blah. So my uncle and I looked at each other and thought, well, we're gonna have to walk down the valley to the highway, so I guess we'll just do it. So the next day we hiked out like we're doing now, made a lot of noise, sang a lot of terrible songs, and got to a spot on the trail. There was a tree right beside the trail, and I stood there and I looked up the tree, and there were these claw marks on the tree, and I said to my uncle, I think that that's a show of dominance by a grizzly bear. So the grizzly bear will stand and claw as high as it can, and then if another grizzly bear comes along and can't reach that high, it knows it's going to be in for a fight. So as we're looking at this tree, up above us in the thick forest is the unmistakable sound of bark being ripped off a tree. And the 2 of us looked at each other, and we proceeded to run full speed down the trail for probably about 15 minutes. This would have been back in the days before bear spray, and no, it wasn't exactly the smartest thing to do running down a trail, but we never saw the bear. The bear probably did not see us, might have heard us. It might not have been the bear, but I will never forget that sound or that moment. So my goal before we finish here is to find that tree, and that'd be pretty cool if I can. So literally 5 seconds after I finished that little chat about the claw marks on the tree, look what I see. Now this might not have been the tree, who knows? It's been great hiking with Dave. Dave, as I think I said before, is one of the original 6, so these people helped create the Great Divide Trail, and that was in southwestern Alberta. And over the years, Dave has led a number of trail crews to maintain trails, build new bridges. I think he's done at least 1 trail crew every year for umpteen years now, so good on him. He obviously loves the GDT and everything about it, and it's been great talking to him the past week here about the Great Divide Trail. And it's been good hiking with Stuart too, in particular talking with Stuart about the Athabasca Trail, and he's one of a handful of people who have gone in there in the past years and helped work on the trail from the British Columbia side to the Divide and the area known as the Committee Punch Bowl. And this is an area that David Thompson helped explore, and these guys have gone in from Kinbasket Lake, which is essentially the flooded Columbia River, and up to the Divide and the BC-Alberta border and the western boundary of Jasper National Park. Unfortunately, Jasper National Park has done nothing on that trail from the Icefields Parkway to the Committee Punch Bowl, including replacing a bridge that got wiped out a few years ago. And apparently there was a gentleman who will donate a $250,000 bridge and maintain it. And the park superintendent has said no. Pretty sad. As a taxpayer, I'd like to think that I have the right to access that region and that area and explore there. It's an incredibly historic spot. You know, one that David Thompson made famous. If you don't know much about David Thompson, check him out. Map maker extraordinaire. Check out the line there across the valley of the reforestation, and that's from 20 years ago, so 2003. But it's interesting how it just ends. Well, we're getting that much closer to the end of the hike. This is the Vermilion Valley, and in the distance, the Banff Windermere Highway, Highway 93, and the Vermilion River. This is the bridge that crosses over Flow Creek, and that's Flow Creek, and that's where it comes from. This is what the trail's like nearing the end, so we're probably about 20 minutes from the parking lot, and we will have a bridge over the Vermilion River to cross, and then shortly after that, back to the parking lot. This trail reminds me a lot of the trail across the highway, actually coming down from Ball Pass, and that's a hike that I did a couple of years ago, a solo hike that I encountered a grizzly bear on. But yeah, these trails are very similar. They're quite flat, and they're through the growth that resulted from the 2003 fire that swept through the Vermilion Valley. Well, there it is, the bridge over the Vermilion, which means we have probably about another 5 minutes to the parking lot. I see a parking lot up ahead, so this brings an end to our great hike. The Rockwall Trail. The Rockwall Trail, I love it. It's such a classic hike. Guys, what did you think? Stuart?
Yeah, it was awesome. I really liked the part where we were coming up to Numa Pass, going along the trail through the subalpine with larch needles all over the trail. It was like a yellow brick road, but a yellow needle road. It was beautiful.
Dave, what'd you think?
Well, that was awesome. It was nice to do that trail. I've been wanting to do it for at least 4 decades. So it's really good. It proved that you can have an awesome hike at this time of year in the Rockies. And you know, I think it was great too. I mean, the other thing is it's a very busy trail normally, but we had it all to ourselves until we got to Flow Lake.
Yeah.
And how awesome was that, right?
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
But
yeah,
that proves to you how popular that area is,
Yep.
being mid-October. So,
Yep.
Stuart, thanks for hiking. I really enjoyed hiking with you, Dave.
Yeah,
it was great. And
thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And thank you for hiking along with us. I'm just going to shoot again here. Oh, I had it. Come on.
It was great hiking with Curly and Larry.
Outtake reel.